Chapter 4. A Bridge Too Far. Later that night, while reluctantly on the hunt for his own prey, Mo climbed high up a gum tree. He immediately noticed some lights of a different kind to the stars, flickering and flashing on the highway bridge. I wonder what's happening on the bridge, he thought. He pondered whether he should ignore the temptation to investigate and continue hunting. It didn't take long for him to decide. I can't miss this opportunity for an adventure. He made his way down the paddock past Susie sleeping under her Subaru and down onto the riverbank. The bridge was not too far around the bend, he decided. It would take him perhaps half an hour to get there and half an hour back. I'll get back before sunrise, I'm sure, he hissed nervously. As he slithered through the tree line along the bank towards the bridge, he felt relief as the rustling leaves and pine needles scratched his itchy scales. He had forgotten about his shedding skin and was grateful for the scratching. He flickered his little tongue in and out as he went, picking up all the smells. He eventually reached the foot of the bridge. It looked tall and dark. He climbed the bank leading to the top, carefully peered over the railing. "Sizzling snags!" he shouted, quickly pulling his head back. There were humans, lots of them, and the flashing lights were so colorful. The people were all wearing shiny orange and silver vests. Some were holding what looked like big flat lollipops, as tall as they were. The lollipop people seemed to be stopping cars and traffic from crossing the bridge. And a big machine with a large roller was driving along the bridge, squishing a hot, steamy black goo. As it rolled, Mo could feel the rumbling on his scales. At the front of the line of cars was one of those big ones Susie had told Mo about. "Oh, wow," he whispered. "There's one of those, what did Susie call it? A truck. What's that painted on the door? It looks like a snake." Mo didn't yet know that many Aussie truck drivers painted pictures and designs on their trucks for fun and decoration. Mo couldn't contain his excitement. The thought that maybe the truck was carrying snakes urged him to try and peek inside. Just then, the truck's rumbling engine made a long hiss and turned off. The human in the front cab hopped out and made his way to the back of the big green container it was carrying. He opened the large doors and peered in. Mo could see his feet disappear around the other side of the truck as he went back to the cab. The cars behind the truck must have figured it would be a long wait, and they all turned off their lights. This was his chance. I must see what or who is in there. It could be sheep. But to meet a new snake, different to me, would be the best discovery ever. He figured his best option was to slide over the railing, carefully slither under the truck until he reached the back. Then he'd peep in and hopefully meet some new friends. He could have a quick chat and be back home in no time. He managed to get to the back undetected and stretched as high as he could, almost standing on the tip of his tail. It was dark in the container. "Hello? Any pythons in there?" He heard a hiss from inside the container. Maybe the snakes are a bit shy, like Leah, he thought. Mo couldn't see the driver of the truck coming back yet, and the lollipop man was still slouching on his big lollipop, feet crossed. It didn't look like the traffic would move any time soon. He cleared his throat. "My name's Mo. I'm a coastal carpet python. What are you?" Mo could vaguely make out the shape of a snake deep in the container and slithered in to get a closer look. When he reached the shape, it hissed abruptly and expelled icy cold water vapor. Mo jumped clean off the floor. "I almost shed my skin right here on the spot," laughed Mo to himself. The snake he thought he saw was a frosty pipe, which led to a big white box bolted to the top of the container. What a strange machine! It must be keeping something cool in here, and Frosty the snow snake is not the friend I had in mind. He decided it was time to get home. He had had enough excitement for the night. As he turned around to leave, the cars behind the truck started their engines, and like the sequence of a long trail of dominoes toppling over, their lights switched on, blinding Mo for a moment. He slid behind a wooden box tied to the wall. Before he could think of a plan, the driver of the truck appeared. A violent noise vibrated through Mo's scales. The huge back doors of the truck's box crashed closed, and Mo was thrust back into darkness. "No!" he cried. "Think, Mo! You have to get out before the truck crosses over the bridge." Carpet pythons have remarkable sense in the small pits along their lower jawline. These allow them to see in the dark using thermal imaging, seeing heat amongst cold. But it was too cool inside the container. Mo couldn't see a thing with his eyes or his heat pits. His forked tongue flickered frantically, but all he could smell was a sweet combination of aromas coming from each direction. Suddenly his belly scales began to rumble and shake. "The truck engine is starting," he hissed. It was too late. He was stuck, and the truck was now rolling over the bridge. Mo slithered around the inside of the container, first trying to find an exit, then simply for a warm place to curl up as the cold pipe sprayed cold water vapor. The truck vibrated and swayed as it drove, so he had to make sure he always had the tip of his tail curled around something as an anchor. The hissing pipe had made the container temperature drop quickly, and Mo was starting to feel slow and sleepy. "I need to find a place to shelter," he thought frantically. As he squeezed in between two tall stacks of boxes, he could smell a familiar sweet smell that reminded him of home. "I know that smell. Passion fruit. This truck must be taking fruit somewhere. If I can find the box, I could curl up in between them and keep me warm." He flickered his tiny forked tongue rapidly, left and right, then back into his mouth, letting each tip touch the back of his mouth where the special gland is. By sensing if the smell was stronger on his right or left fork tip, he could tell which way to go. It was stronger from the left. He quickly climbed the stack, and at the top found a rough wooden box, which felt rather soothing on his itchy skin. "Oh, great," he muttered to himself. "Am I going to shed in here and have some creepy clone to keep me company?" He resisted the natural urge to hook his skin on a rough edge of the box and pushed his way in the lid. It was already warmer in the box, and the smell of home helped to calm him. "I'm hungry, I'm cold, and I'm itchy," he said to himself. "Not what I'd call a great first adventure. There's nothing I can do now but curl up and preserve my energy until daylight. Maybe if the light shines through a crack or a hole, I'll be able to find my way out of here then." With that, he hooked his thin tail tip around the top of the lid and pulled the box closed. He muzzled his way deep into the passion fruit and curled up into a tight coil, covering his eyes. "Good night, family," he whispered. "I hope something amazing comes from this adventure, and I'll be home soon to tell you all about it. Braver and bolder and wiser." He couldn't resist the cold any longer and drifted off to sleep.